For joining us this afternoon. We appreciate your time. I am Jane Hauser. I'm the Director of Marketing and Outreach at NESCA, and I am joined by Dr. Ann Helmus, Founder and Director of NESCA, as well as Billy Demiri, who is a certified personal coach and health and life coach as well. Just a couple of housekeeping items here. We will have a Q&A at the end of the webinar, so feel free to write in a question in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to that at the end of the presentation. And if you have any technical difficulties along the way, please feel free to just send me a note in the chat. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Ann Helmus.
Thank you, Jane. I'm delighted to be here this afternoon and introduce you all to Billy Demiri. Billy has been at NESCA for a little over 3 years now. He originally came as a personal trainer, and actually he's still doing that, working with kids and adolescents on developing their physical skills. And one of the things that quickly became apparent in his work with kids is that he was going far beyond just teaching them strength and agility and that sort of thing, that he was really working with kids to help them decide what their goals were. And what I was hearing from parents is that kids were starting to view themselves differently after their work with him. And so kids who had viewed themselves as not being athletic were all of a sudden telling their mothers that they wanted to try out for the track team, or that they considered themselves to be athletes now. Kids who used to give up really easily and had low frustration tolerance were learning how to push through pain and push through discomfort, and realizing that they could do that. And all of these things were helping kids to sort of see themselves differently. So Billy, about, I guess, a year ago during the pandemic, told me that he was going to spend some of his pandemic time at home doing certification course to be a certified health and life coach, which I thought was a great idea because he was already heading in this direction informally. When he got his certification, I went through the 12-week program with him because I wanted to see how it would apply to NESCA. And it was interesting because when I went into this program, I figured that since I had been a psychologist for 30 years, there was probably nothing that he was going to teach me that I didn't already know. And I was completely wrong about that. There were all kinds of approaches that I was not familiar with and that were really helpful for me in making changes to my own health. And I thought it was a fabulous program and really wanted him to bring it to NESCA, particularly for our adolescents and young adults that we see at NESCA. Because as a psychologist, one of the real challenges for me is when parents ask me, how can I motivate my child to change? I really want my child to stop playing video games and start doing homework. They really need to exercise more. They need to lose weight. They say they want to make the varsity team, and yet they don't do anything on their own. And I haven't had that much to offer them. What they've been doing is bribing, nagging, giving helpful suggestions, sometimes shaming kids. And none of those strategies seem to really work for kids. I didn't really feel that sending kids to therapy because they were watching video or playing video games too often and not doing their homework made a whole lot of sense. And most teenagers aren't too eager to go to therapy. So when I went through the 12-week program, immediately, I started seeing this would be great, for parents who are trying to figure out how to help kids find their own motivation to make their own changes to reach their own goals. So I'm thrilled that we're now able to offer this in NESCA. And in talking with some of my colleagues in different practices, I think this is going to be an exploding area in service delivery for kids because a lot of kids need support, especially now after all the changes with the pandemic, in getting back on track academically, getting back on track socially, getting back on track physically. And therapy is not the answer. And there are no therapists available. I think we need to look at other routes to support our teenagers and young adults in getting back to where they want to be. So we'll have the pleasure of hearing about the philosophy behind the coaching program that Billy uses and some of the particulars in what he actually does with adolescents and young adults. So thank you, Billy.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for that introduction. And before I get started, I want to start off with a little story of kind of what got me involved in coaching and in personal training. So when I was younger, and I really first started playing sports. I remember being very out of shape. I was uncoordinated. I remember not being able to do jumping jacks properly. And there was a point where I was being made fun of for that. However, I really didn't let that stop me. I had this vision of really becoming a starting player on my team. And long and behold, that kind of motivated me to get better. So that off season, I finally made the decision, I'm going to get in shape this year and start on the team. However, I knew that process was going to be uncomfortable. I would have to work out. I would have to, learn a whole bunch of different things on how to improve and get better. But I really kept envisioning how good it was going to feel, being a starting athlete on the football team, having friends that were going to support me. And that's really what motivated me to work out when some of my other friends were playing video games or watching Netflix, which back when I was younger was Blockbuster. And long and behold, that following year, I did just that. I became a starting player on the football team. And, that's kind of when I really discovered my passion for self-development and really trying to gain as much knowledge in that subject as I possibly could, whether it was fitness oriented, nutrition oriented, or even mindset oriented. And as I was getting better with my overall health and my confidence was starting to boost, I discovered how much I love sharing my knowledge with others and really trying to help them achieve their goals, which led me to become a personal trainer and then a coach. So, my goal as a coach, right, is to really lead by example while motivating and empowering my clients to achieve success in their lives. I also have a passion for helping and teaching people how to really overcome obstacles or any fears that are going to come up. And most importantly, have fun along the way. And as a coach here at NESCA, what I do is I help young adults build confidence by really helping them transform their bodies and their beliefs so that way they can perform better than ever. And coaching is really not a quick fix, but it's a transformational process that is designed to help make changes last. And the way that it works is I'm going to be using the transformational coaching method, which works on behaviors, habits, taking action. It works with beliefs and identity. So we're working at 3 different levels. And as we can kind of see here in the individual iceberg model, it kind of displays a pretty good picture of how habits, beliefs, identity are all intertwined. And usually what our parents are going to be focusing on is most of the time the habits, the things that are on the top of the iceberg. But it's really important to know that habits won't shift unless beliefs, unless identities start to change along with them. So, when we focus solely on behaviors or taking action or habits, right, it's usually ineffective in creating lasting change. Habit change, also known as taking consistent action, is going to be driven by beliefs and identity. For example, again, what a parent may see is their child playing video games, maybe not working out, waiting until the last minute to work on an assignment. And as Anne mentioned earlier, the parent's going to try to get the child to stop playing video games, maybe by nagging, by bribing, by threatening, or turning off the internet. So let me ask you, do any of these strategies create a lasting change in their behavior? In my experience, these approaches don't work and actually cause more problems and more separation. And I think we can all agree that these approaches are not going to be fun or sustainable for anyone involved. And what coaching really figures out is the beliefs and the identity that are anchoring in those behaviors and works on creating a new and empowering set of beliefs and identity. For example, if someone has a limiting belief like, what they're doing won't make a difference, or it's too hard to get in shape, or I'm going to be made fun of if I try. And they start identify by saying, I'm not an athlete. I am lazy. I am not smart. I'm not good enough. With all that going on underneath, it's no wonder why taking action or changing a habit or behavior is going to feel like pushing a boulder up a hill. So that's where coaching really comes in. and works at all three different levels to create changes that are going to last in behaviors because that we're going to be able to shape beliefs and identity to move along with the behaviors at the same time. So it should feel good at the same time. Another way we can look at it is identity is going to create certain beliefs. And those beliefs create certain actions, certain behaviors, certain habits, and that's all going to lead to certain results. So if someone is identifying with, I'm lazy, I'm out of shape, it's going to create certain beliefs like it's going to be too hard, I'll be made fun of if I try. And that's all going to lead to different actions and different behaviors, such as playing video games, waiting until the last minute to work on an assignment, all avoidant behaviors. And it's going to create certain results that are going to, again, confirm the identity and then confirm those beliefs. On the other hand, if someone is identifying as, I am an athlete, I am strong, I am confident, it's going to create a whole new set of beliefs, such as, I can do this. It's going to actually be fun to try. It is going to, again, create different actions and different behaviors, such as working out or figuring out what foods are going to be best for their bodies to eat and how to feel good in their body. And it's going to lead to a certain set of results that are going to, again, confirm the identity of, I am an athlete, I can do this. Oftentimes, we don't get into take new actions because we get in these certain emotional states that start to dominate us, like anxiety, like the fear of failure, like the fear of losing friends or losing loved ones. So if we're in the state of fear, we're going to behave very differently and get very different results than if we're in a state of being courageous or in a state of feeling gratitude or bold or warm, connected or playful or any of those. So the most important key to getting new results is first we have to change our behavior. But to change our behavior, we've got to change the emotional state that we're in by changing our beliefs. Now, our beliefs are kind of like these unquestioned commands. They're telling us how things are, what's possible, what's impossible, what we can do, what we cannot do. They shape every action, every thought, and every feeling that we experience. And as a result, changing our belief system is going to be central to making any real lasting change in our lives. And often the biggest factor that affects our state of being, or in other words, our emotional state, is in the back. Start to predict and things like, I didn't make the team last year because I'm not good enough. Or I don't want to try because I'll be made fun of. Or I've tried getting in shape for the past 2 years, the past 5 years, the past 10 years, and it never worked. So it's going to be too hard to get in shape. So trying to get different results, these beliefs in place, is simple, and it doesn't feel good because there's no internal motivation. So to get a new result, we have to develop this sense of certainty that, hey, we can and we will meet that new goal before we actually do. And that's going to be directly impacted by our beliefs. So how do you change your state of being when you don't feel like it, or if it just feels so overwhelming? And really there are 3 ways you have to do to change your state. Right, first is not really trying to think your way there, like, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, and just do a bunch of affirmations, because then the brain's still going to go, who are you kidding? You're not happy because of this thing that happened in the past. So in order to change our emotional state, what we need to do is we need to make a change. And first, what is our physiology? Or that's your body as a whole. That's breathing, that's posture, movement, that's calming the body down in order to prime it to take action. Ever notice what your breathing or your posture is like when you're stressed or upset? Usually our posture is kind of hunched over with lots of tension in the neck and the shoulders, and we're breathing, shallow, rapid breaths. Now, how about when we're in a happy or in a courageous or in a relaxed state? That's when our shoulders are relaxed down the back. We're sitting up straight, breathing full rhythmic breaths. That's why exercise, posture, breathing exercises, and meditation, these are all great tools for changing our emotional states. Harvard came out with a study, actually, I believe back in 2015, evaluating what they called these power postures. For example, holding the Superman pose, right? Or the Wonder Woman pose and breathing deeply. And what they found was that just by holding that posture for 2 minutes, increased testosterone levels in both men and women, and reduced cortisol levels, which is that stress hormone. Now, I would highly encourage everyone to actually try it later and feel the difference for yourself. So, in other words, our bodies can change our minds, and our minds can change our behaviors. And our behaviors, again, are going to change our results. So first, by changing our physiology, we're producing more certainty. And then that certainty is getting us to take different actions. Now, the second is where your focus is going. For example, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And this couldn't be more true. Think about how you feel when you focus on a negative event that took place in the past, or when you're worried about something in the future. Notice what happens to your energy and to your emotions. Notice what happens to your breathing, to your posture. Now, if we're predicting worst case scenarios based off of these past beliefs, like I'm probably going to fail again, or I'll be laughed at for trying, or all the things that we have anxiety about, the minute that we focus on them, then we go into these states of fear. And then we behave fearful, and then we get lousy results. And when we get lousy results, what does it do to our brain? It goes, see, I told you you couldn't do this. And then it just becomes this negative loop. So how do we break out of it? We have to change our focus by asking better questions. For example, think of a moment that you were truly grateful for, or a moment when you did something and it made you feel really, really proud. For this example, let's go with proud. And we can actually all do this right now. If all of you guys want to participate and feel this for yourselves, I want you all to close your eyes and focus on how it feels when you're really proud. Focus on a moment that you're truly proud of. It could be 5 years ago, 2 years ago, last week, any moment, big or small. How do you breathe when you're really proud? What's your posture like? And when you're a little kid, what happens to your face when you're really proud? You don't hide it, right? There's a big smile on your face. Now let's try one more. I want you to think of a moment that you could feel excited about. It could be a past experience or something that you're really excited about accomplishing in the future. Again, all we're doing is changing your focus. So keeping your eyes closed, I want you to focus on something that could excite you and start to feel like it's really happening, or any goal you're excited about achieving. For example, having the body that you want, succeeding in school or at work, being in an amazing relationship. Anxiety is being rid from my life, and I'm in charge and I'm on top of it. Maybe skydiving. How do you breathe when you feel really excited? And what's your posture like? Just notice all the changes that you're feeling and experiencing. Now, the third is the language that we use, both internally and externally. For example, how we're talking to ourselves, and especially when we're trying to accomplish a goal. Are the words that we're using putting ourselves down by saying, I can't do this, I always fail, or bad things always happen to me? If this is the normal way that we talk to ourselves, we're undoubtedly going to start believing that. But on the other hand, if we change our language to, I can do this, I know I can succeed, I am an athlete, I am resilient, I am successful, that's going to get us in a much more empowered state of being. And as I'm talking, the more empowered of a state of being that you're in, that's when you're going to take more positive action. And so even just being aware of these three factors will help us catch ourselves when we're in that negative state, so we can change it. And that's part of developing self-awareness. So when we learn to use our physiology, when we focus on what we want instead of what we don't want, and we use the right language with ourselves, it changes our emotional state of being and gets us to take action totally differently, which is going to create a whole new set of results. So how do I do this with the coaching, my coaching program? And, it all starts with the 6-step transformational coaching process. So the first step in that process is really goal setting, where you really decide to make a commitment. And I'm working with my clients to find out the why behind their goals, using a lot of motivational interviewing to really figure out what reaching that goal is going to do for them, how they're going to feel once they reach that goal, just to really tie in more and more positive emotion towards reaching that goal. That way, we're starting to build up more and more intrinsic motivation. On top of that, I'm also tying in a lot of identity with who do you want to be? So we start to envision ourselves as something more, something that we're trying to reach. I want to be this way. I want to be confident. I want to be strong. And this part is also really important because this gets my clients to start to take ownership for their own goals. And they start to realize that these are goals that they want. It's not coming from their parents. It's not coming from teachers. It's not coming from friends. And the more ownership they take of the goal, and the more they want to start going after the actions and the steps to get there. For example, I want to get strong and build muscle so I can feel more confident, or impress this girl that I like, or, whatever it's going to be. What's important about that? And they're all going to be individual based. And all the goals that we're going to be setting throughout the coaching program, they're going to be SMART goals. They're specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely. So everyone's going to be starting off in a different position. The next part of the process is being able to step back and gain awareness. And this step is really important because we get to identify what all those self-defeating habits are, what all those limiting beliefs are that are holding us back from reaching the goal. For example, like what is keeping you back right now? And during this step, what I teach my clients is to kind of really detach and just kind of from an outside perspective, view the habits, view some of the beliefs that are coming up. So that way we can just get curious behind what is going on instead of coming from a judgmental viewpoint. And this really helps uncover a lot of those self-defeating habits and those old limiting beliefs that are in place. And once we've done that, the next step of the process is unwinding those self-defeating behaviors and learning how to release those old limiting beliefs. So we're learning to let go. And as someone is reaching or trying to go towards their goal of becoming better in any shape or form, my health, my nutrition, my body, relationships, there's going to be this continual process of letting go. And throughout the coaching program, And the habit change coaching method that I use specifically does this by rewiring neural patterns. We're going to be using techniques such as neurolinguistic programming, mindfulness practices, breathing exercise, mental rehearsals, visualization, meditation, and many more. These are all going to be independent on the individual that I'm working with. And the reason we're doing this is to tap into the body's autonomic nervous system. So when we have an old limiting belief, such as like, I can't do this, or it's going to be too hard, I'm going to be made fun of, then our body unconsciously will go into a sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, or freeze nervous system. And when our body's in that state, that change is not going to be happening in that state. That's when we want to revert back to old habits and old behaviors, such as playing video games, not trying to finish an assignment, more avoidant behavior patterns. On the other hand, this work that I'm going to be doing with my clients is teaching them how to tap into the body's parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest and relaxation, where we can start to adapt new ideas and that's when our bodies are learning. And if we can take action from that place, that's the best place to take action from, when you're in a calm state. So this is a very important step, because I'm going to be teaching my clients how to, again, get into a relaxed place for themselves, whatever is going to work for them, and learn how to turn that anxiousness into a feeling of excitement, because we're striving towards reaching something that is actually going to be exciting, reaching that goal. And the fourth step is anchoring in those new empowering beliefs. So once we have let go of the dysfunctional beliefs, the things that are holding us back from reaching our goals, and having the self-awareness to identify what those are, that's when we can change that to, I can do this. So remember, that being in that positive emotional state of being is going to equal to taking positive action. And this is another thing that I'm going to be doing with the coaching program, is constantly tying in positive emotions towards reaching whatever the goal is. Which leads to the next step, which is taking action. No, we always want to be able to take action from an empowered state, not from a state of fear or doubt or not enoughness. Once we're feeling completely good and grounded in, I can do this, and feeling good about the steps that we're going to take, that's when I work with my clients to create a weekly action step that is, again, designed to help them get one step closer to their goal in a way that's going to feel more fun, and it's going to be more sustainable than in the past. Because taking action is, again, it's not going to feel good if we're coming from a place of doubt, if we're coming from a place of fear. It just feels so much harder to try and force ourselves to do stuff. So this is more about coming to the conclusion that I get to do this, not I have to do this. I get to go work out, not I have to. For example, I was talking with one of my clients, and we had a little setback at one point, and he told me, his mom was complaining and saying, you're not going to make the team because unless you go and work out. So stop sitting on the couch playing video games. And as a teenager, and I've been there myself too, we're kind of going to do the opposite of what our parents are telling us, even though they're coming from such a good place to want us to make those changes for ourselves. It comes off more as disempowering. And we've worked around how to get back into that optimal state. Being able to let go and understand that his mom was coming from a good place, to have him taking action the following week more consistently. So this step is very important, to be able to feel good about the steps that we're taking on a daily basis, no matter how little the steps are. And after that, the next part of the program is setting up accountability. This is just where we set up the conditions to make success inevitable, whether that be setting up a schedule, learning how to stay consistent, applying whatever tools we're learning through the session, applying it to the next week. Because it's going to be those small, consistent actions that are going to lead to the biggest changes throughout this process. And as we can see here, you know, the before and after iceberg model of how the coaching program really works. And it really works at shifting identity and beliefs to be able to make those habits, the external layer, the things that parents are seeing, change consistently. And change from a good place of empowerment, not from a place of, I have to force myself to go and change and be better. That we get to do that because that's something that we want to do. And it should feel good. So who is coaching for? So for teens and young adults who want to make a decision to improve, to want to get better and figure out really how to do it in a way that's going to feel empowering. If they want to get shape, get strong, feel energized, confident in their bodies, make new healthy relationships, now join a sports team, and all while doing it, feeling happy and excited the entire time. And that's the goal of the coaching program, is to get someone to take action from a place of feeling really good about the things that they're doing. So also, what happens during a session? And there is a structure to it. So we start off always with what is going well. And this is just building up on the past positive experiences of the week prior, and just keeps the positive emotion going forward. And then I'm going to coach around any challenges or obstacles, followed by new information. And new information is going to be related towards their goal. It could be, nutrition oriented, exercise oriented, mental rehearsal, visualization, breathing exercises, figuring out how self-sabotage plays into everything when we're creating positive changes. And then experiential exercise, which is really profound in the coaching program, because they're going to be able to put and apply the new information during our session and see how it feels for themselves, and really try to figure out how they're going to apply it to their week. That's going to help them reach their goal. And that experiential exercise could be like a breathing exercise. It'll be something nutrition oriented or an exercise. And then from there, we're going to create a weekly action step, followed by insights, appreciations about the session, where we talk about how they're going to apply those new changes towards the week. So the coaching program is a 90-day coaching program where, with me as their coach, and they get 12 weekly virtual coaching sessions. We'll have expert guidance that they're going to need to work through every obstacle, a step-by-step action plan, accountability and motivation for all their actions and results, and then whatever variety of handouts, checklists, workouts, recipes, things that are all going to be related towards helping them reach their goal. And for anybody that is interested, I'm happy to set up a free discovery session where we can talk about their goals and seeing if we would be a good fit working together. And I'd like to leave it open to any questions anyone may have.
The Q&A open for just a minute to see if anybody has any questions.
Perfect.
And you can always reach out to Billy as well for any questions that you may have directly. Do have a couple of questions. Does your approach for health and life coaching differ for kids who are on the autism spectrum?
The approach is going to be, it's similar, and it's different for everybody who is there, like I said, we're all going to be starting off at different places. So being able to identify, again, for themselves, where they are in that process towards reaching their goals, because this is a process that they're going to start taking ownership for themselves. So it's going to be different for every individual. And my job as a coach is to help them, help facilitate the right amount of information and the right time, the right steps in the right order for them to be able to make success inevitable for themselves. So yeah, it will be different for everyone.
And where are the sessions held?
The sessions are all virtual. So it's just one-on-one virtual sessions. So they can be held anywhere.
Right. I don't think we have any other questions at this time. Again, as I mentioned, you can certainly reach out to Billy directly, and his contact information is right there. Or you can also reach out to me, Jane Hauser at NESCA. So thank you everyone for joining. We appreciate your time this afternoon, and have a good one and be well.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.